H2A program. Farmers. Second video for farming. What a lot of us don't understand is immigration does not just affect this illegal version of the world, right? A lot of you will go on and on about people need to come in legally, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I think that most of us can agree on that. But the problem is that most of us don't understand the H2A visa. Most of us don't understand immigration, if we're being honest. We don't know anything about it. We're just running off at the mouths most of the time. So the farmers have a unique visa that only they're allowed. And that 1% of 1%, those agricultural corporations are allowed to use it also. But the H2A visa basically allows for temporary migrant workers in the agricultural community. Okay? And they're meant to pick strawberries or, pluck chickens. And they don't pay FICA. While they're here, they pay federal tax, they pay state tax, county and city, if that's applicable. But they don't pay FICA. And therefore, farmers or agricultural corporations don't pay that 7.5% matching that they have to pay for an American. This works for farmers and for the migrants because they make their money, they go home. And for the farmers, they don't have to pay that extra 7.5%. Okay? The way the H2A visa works is farmers and agricultural corporations can apply for this. And basically, there's kind of a rubber stamp approval process through the Department of Agriculture, which makes it weird that they didn't put this in the section that they would point farmers to in the first place. They put it somewhere else. Sneaky. And basically, they get approved for so many. So let's say you're a farmer and you need 5 workers to pull out strawberries for 4 weeks out of the year. Help you plant, strawberries and then come back and for a couple weeks help you get them all out of the ground and pluck strawberries off their plants. Okay? So you get this approved for that time window-ish and you get approval for 5 employees. Or you could be like those chicken plants in Alabama that had over 2,000 H2A visas for chicken pluckers. Because Americans don't want to work as chicken pluckers. And we know this because when ICE went in there to round up these people that were supposedly illegals, only 200-ish Americans applied for those jobs a week later. Americans don't want to be chicken pluckers and color us all surprised since this is the information age and you're probably watching me on your phone. Of course you don't want to pluck chickens. The biggest flub with this is that if you come in on an H2A visa, you're legal as long as you're working for somebody that keeps the payment to the federal government for the visa up to date. So the Koch brothers, the reason they weren't arrested, the reason their HR manager wasn't arrested is because they were hired as legals under an H2A visa. And as the legal under an H2A visa, now some of them might have been under a different visa, but a lot of them probably were under the H2A visa. And what happens is if the corporation you're working for doesn't pay their bill to the federal government for those 2,000 plus visas on time, that person doesn't know it. Those immigrants don't know it. Nobody tells them. But they instantly, as that due date goes by, go from legal to illegal. Because the corporation didn't want to pay that bill on time. Literally. And if you've ever worked for a company and you know how this works, as far as them paying their bills, a lot of them will go 3 months past due and not think twice about it. And the federal government doesn't really slap these guys for not paying their bill for 3 months. So now you've got innocent immigrants that think they're on a legal visa, who technically the company they were working for didn't pay the bill on time, so they're not legal, and they could just instantly be rounded up out of their jobs. That's how that happened, boys and girls. If we want to get into even more nefarious, because this was the project, those manifesto people that did that in the first place in 2020 with the chicken plants in Alabama. If we really want to get into nastiness, they want to make it so that American farmers, our average Joe American farmers, who often sell to local schools and local businesses and local nonprofits, right? Or some of them, if they happen to be near a military installation, make deals with commissaries to sell directly to the commissaries, sell directly to the military. They cut out that middleman and they make more money that way. Now imagine that these project manifestos, people don't imagine, they want to do this. They want to make it so every farmer and every agricultural corporation in the country, in order to do any business with any government entity, federal or state, city, county, nonprofits, have to prove schools, public schools, have to prove that they are only hiring 90% or more American. None of us want to pluck chickens. How's that going to work? None of us want to pick strawberries. How is that going to work? They don't give a crap. They have no idea what they're talking about. This won't work. None of us want to do that job. Are they going to force us? Dictator for a day? Is that what they're planning? Dictator forever? And certain groups of us will just be relegated into doing menial work? Go back to 200 years ago. In the manifesto, they go on and on about how when this country was founded, 90% of us were farmers. Well, no kidding. But now it's the information age. Duh. It's not how it's going to work. They want to talk about shithole countries while their manifesto suggests we ought to be one. Instead of having migrants plucking the chickens, you should be doing it. I don't know how many of you are still thinking these people have your best interests at heart, but if you are anywhere in any farming community or food processing that you definitely don't want to do yourself, or that you know of that you don't want to do yourself, how's that going to work? I already talked about the homeless. There's not enough of them to do it. Who do they imagine they're going to force to do that work? I don't know how many of you give it a lot of thought, but in a nutshell, this is not a good idea. That H2A Visa keeps our farmers able to own their land and keeps them able to grow grapes and strawberries and things like that we all love to eat. What happens when they can't pay their bills because they can't get all that fruit out to sell it before it goes bad? And then they got to pay 90% Americans to do the work on top of it. Oh, just magically, those corporations will eat up the rest of the farming communities. And they will own all the land. And then they will just turn most of those farming communities into basically slave labor. Here's your $7. Hope you enjoy your 3 beers you can buy with that. It's crazy. Think about it. Peace.